Isabella Hayes gently rubbed her swollen belly as she stepped through the sliding doors of Crestwood General Hospital. The crisp October air outside quickly surrendered to the sterile aroma of disinfectant, cold and clinical. Isabella had spent the morning rereading her obstetrician's referral note. Dr. Eliza Warren had emphasized the urgency given Isabella's history of preterm labor. At 32 weeks, Isabella knew she couldn't take any chances. She was educated, calm, and composed a respected community advocate who routinely stood against injustice. She had always insisted on handling situations herself, avoiding any favoritism despite being married to Dr. Nathaniel Hayes, Crestwood's chief medical officer. To maintain her independence and avoid special treatment, she'd listed her maiden name, Isabella Martinez, on all her hospital paperwork. The emergency room was quiet for a Tuesday morning. A tired-eyed receptionist whose badge read Caitlin sat typing away at the computer, barely looking up when Isabella approached. "Good morning," Isabella said calmly, handing over her referral note ID and insurance card. "I'm Isabella Martinez. I'm 32 weeks pregnant and experiencing contractions. My OB recommended immediate observation." Caitlin glanced briefly at Isabella's paperwork, then slid a clipboard toward her. "Fill this out and have a seat. We'll call you." Isabella nodded politely, settled into a nearby chair, and began meticulously filling out the forms. Under emergency contact, she hesitated briefly before writing Nathaniel Hayes, followed simply by spouse, deliberately omitting his title. 30 minutes passed, punctuated by Isabella's gentle, controlled breaths as mild contractions rippled through her abdomen. Patients came and went, yet her name remained uncalled. Isabella patiently watched the clock, her concern growing. Finally, after another contraction tightened painfully, she approached the reception desk again. Her voice remained even and respectful. "Excuse me, my contractions are intensifying. It's been over half an hour. Could you please check again?" Caitlin looked irritated. "Miss, you need to wait like everyone else. We have a triage system here." "I understand," Isabella responded evenly, "but my doctor specifically said, look." Caitlin cut her off sharply. "You're not special. You'll be called when it's your turn." A nurse nearby, glancing up, muttered under her breath, "Always think they deserve special treatment." Isabella felt a flush of embarrassment tempered by frustration. She'd faced subtle racism and microaggressions before too many times to count, but being dismissed while fearing for her baby heightened her distress. Yet she returned quietly to her seat, counting breaths and waiting. Another 45 minutes crawled by, contractions now frequent and intense enough to make her grip the chair. Isabella stood once more, determinedly approaching the desk, her polite tone now edged with urgency. Before she could speak, the emergency room doors swung open abruptly, admitting Dr. Evelyn Harper, the ER's lead physician, a stern-looking woman whose brisk stride matched her clipped demeanor. Dr. Harper took in the scene immediately, zeroing in on Isabella's anxious expression. What's your issue?" Dr. Harper demanded loudly, drawing unwanted attention. Isabella straightened, speaking clearly. "I've been waiting nearly an hour and a half with contractions at 32 weeks. My OB explicitly asked." Dr. Harper snatched the referral note from Isabella's outstretched hand, barely scanning it before tearing it up in front of her. The shredded paper fluttered onto the desk. "This doesn't override hospital protocol," Dr. Harper snapped. "You'll wait your turn or leave. We have real emergencies here." A powerful contraction gripped Isabella at that moment, forcing her to clutch the desk edge, breathing sharply through the pain. Her distress was palpable. "Stop being dramatic," Dr. Harper hissed, her voice carrying disdain. "This isn't theater." "I'm not acting," Isabella gasped, recovering her breath. "I'm in pain and need to be examined now." "You're raising your voice and causing a disturbance." Dr. Harper retorted coldly, signaling Caitlin, "Call security." "This is ridiculous," Isabella protested, her voice betraying her fear. "I'm a patient." Within moments, Security Officer Jake Callahan arrived, imposing and unsmiling. "What's the issue, Dr. Harper?" "Disruptive patient," Dr. Harper said, curtly indicating Isabella. "Please remove her." "I haven't done anything disruptive," Isabella insisted, panic rising. Callahan demanded identification, scrutinizing her driver's license for too long before coldly stating, "Hospital policy allows us to remove disruptive individuals." "I'm pregnant and need care," Isabella pleaded. "Please, just call my husband." "Turn around," Callahan ordered brusquely, pulling handcuffs from his belt. "Hands behind your back." "No, you can't do this," Isabella whispered, her voice shaking. "My baby." Callahan forcibly cuffed her wrists, the cold metal biting painfully into her skin. As Isabella was escorted roughly toward the door, no one intervened. All eyes deliberately turned away, complicit through silence. Just as Isabella was dragged out, the hospital doors slid open again. Dr. Nathaniel Hayes stepped inside, face composed, yet authoritative. Immediately sensing tension, his eyes scanned the room, landing on the unmistakable figure of his wife, handcuffed, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. His jaw-tightened voice dangerously calm as he addressed the guard. "What exactly is happening here?" Callahan stopped, confused. Dr. Harper's eyes widened slightly in alarm, recognizing Nathaniel instantly. "Nathaniel?" Isabella breathed in relief, desperation clear in her eyes. Nathaniel Hayes, the powerful yet quietly dignified chief medical officer of Crestwood General, fixed his steely gaze on Dr. Harper. "Release my wife immediately," he said softly, an unmistakable edge in his voice. The room fell into stunned silence. Dr. Harper paled visibly, realization dawning far too late. Callahan hastily fumbled for his keys, releasing Isabella's wrists. Nathaniel approached Isabella gently, taking her hands, inspecting the angry marks left by the cuffs. A quiet fury burned in his eyes as he turned back to Dr. Harper. "My office! Immediately!" He commanded, his voice barely above a whisper, but echoing louder than any shout. As Isabella was gently escorted away by concerned medical staff, finally attending to her, Nathaniel remained standing, a single question, searing silently between them all. How had it come to this? Nathaniel Hayes closed the heavy wooden door to his office behind Dr. Evelyn Harper, the room thick with a tense silence. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air, yet the warmth did nothing to soften the rigid lines etched across his face. He motioned for her to sit, his movements deliberate and controlled. "Explain yourself," he said calmly, each syllable sharp as glass. Dr. Harper hesitated briefly, collecting herself, then began defensively. "Dr. Hayes' protocol dictates." "Protocol." Nathaniel interrupted gently, his voice dangerously quiet. "Tell me, Dr. Harper, which protocol allows tearing up a medical referral and handcuffing a pregnant woman seeking care?" She shifted uncomfortably. She was disruptive, raising her voice, making demands. "Security protocol." "Disruptive," Nathaniel repeated, leaning slightly forward, eyes piercing into hers. She was having contractions at 32 weeks. A scenario that our own guidelines explicitly state requires immediate assessment and monitoring. Yet you ignored that. Dr. Harper swallowed, visibly shaken, but trying to maintain her composure. "It was a misunderstanding," Caitlin reported. "You took action based on hearsay from a receptionist." Nathaniel stated disbelief, coloring his tone. "A receptionist who openly expressed disdain towards a patient. Tell me, Dr. Harper, did the patient's ethnicity have anything to do with your swift judgment?" Absolutely not, Dr. Harper snapped defensively, her voice raising. I am not prejudiced. I made a decision based on what I saw. And what exactly did you see? Nathaniel asked softly. A woman advocating for herself and her unborn child, or just another minority patient demanding what you assume to be special treatment? Dr. Harper faltered, her eyes narrowing slightly. Are you accusing me of racism, Dr. Hayes? I'm accusing you of negligence and poor judgment. Nathaniel countered firmly, voice steady, yet edged with restrained anger. Whether motivated by racism, ignorance, or simple arrogance, your actions have endangered a patient's life and my unborn child. Shock rippled visibly across Dr. Harper's face as realization hit her once more. Her voice wavered slightly as she responded. Dr. Hayes, I had no idea. That's precisely the point, Nathaniel interjected quietly. Would knowing who she was have changed your actions? The issue here isn't her identity. It's your decision-making. It's your disregard of clear medical indications. It's the institutional bias we both know exists within these walls. Doctor. Harper lowered her eyes, finally subdued by the heavy weight of truth in his words. Nathaniel rose, pacing briefly, before pausing to look out the window. Below, the hospital grounds bustled as usual, oblivious to the storm brewing within. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending a thorough investigation, he stated, tone final. Hand over your credentials and leave the premises. She opened her mouth to protest, but thought better of it, silently placing her badge on his desk before quietly exiting the office. As soon as the door closed, Nathaniel sank into his chair, exhaling deeply. His heart pounded in his chest, hands trembling slightly from the confrontation. Pulling out his phone, he quickly dialed the head of security, John Patterson. John, he said urgently. I need all security footage from the ER waiting area, the lobby, and the basement holding area from this morning. Of course, Dr. Hayes, John replied immediately. I'll have it ready within the hour. Nathaniel hesitated before adding, John, check if any footage has been tampered with or deleted. And please ensure complete confidentiality on this. Understood, sir, John confirmed firmly. Shortly after Nathaniel's phone buzzed again, a text from Lena Morales, a young nurse intern who'd quietly witnessed the incident. Dr. Hayes, this is Lena Morales, nurse intern. I saw what happened with your wife. If you need a witness, I'll speak. Relief surged through Nathaniel. He typed back quickly, Thank you, Lena. Please come to my office immediately. Within minutes, Lena knocked softly on his door, slipping in nervously. She stood awkwardly until Nathaniel gestured warmly for her to sit. Lena, he began, kindly sensing her unease. You showed courage today. Thank you. She relaxed slightly, taking a deep breath before speaking clearly. I saw everything, Dr. Hayes. Your wife wasn't disruptive. She was patient, polite, and clearly in pain. Dr. Harper and Caitlin targeted her for no good reason. Nathaniel nodded solemnly. Are you willing to give a formal statement? Lena squared her shoulders resolutely. Yes, whatever it takes. Good, Nathaniel replied firmly. Because this isn't just about my wife, Lena. It's about systemic issues we can't ignore any longer. Lena nodded, eyes shining with determination. I'm ready. Nathaniel's expression softened with appreciation. Then, let's begin. In the quiet of his office, Nathaniel Hayes reviewed the security footage, his face darkening with each passing second. John Patterson stood quietly beside him, arms crossed, deeply troubled. It's been tampered with. John finally admitted, his voice grave. About 15 minutes from the lobby feed, and all basement footage during Isabella's detention have been deleted. Nathaniel leaned back, rubbing his temples, frustration mounting. Who has access to these files, John? Only senior management and security. John replied cautiously, eyes narrowing in contemplation. But altering or deleting footage takes high-level clearance higher than usual security personnel. Then we're dealing with someone powerful enough to cover their tracks. Nathaniel murmured, his voice cold. Dr. Hayes, John offered hesitantly, there's a separate archive, a backup server that's hardwired. Not many people know it exists. We might retrieve the missing files there. Nathaniel's gaze snapped sharply to John. Take me there immediately. The backup server room was tucked away deep within the hospital's basement, beyond corridors rarely traveled. As John unlocked the door, fluorescent lights flickered on, revealing rows of humming servers. John quickly accessed a terminal, fingers deftly entering commands. Within moments, footage from earlier that morning appeared. Nathaniel watched silently, muscles tensed, as Isabella's ordeal replayed vividly on the screen. Anger flared anew as he witnessed Dr. Harper's callousness and Officer Callahan's aggressive behavior. Save everything, Nathaniel instructed sharply. Make multiple copies. I want them encrypted and secured immediately. Understood, John responded swiftly, setting to work. Nathaniel's phone buzzed urgently, breaking the tension. It was Lena. Dr. Hayes. Lena's voice trembled slightly. They're asking questions. Dr. Shaw from administration. He came down personally. He's interrogating staff about what happened this morning. Nathaniel felt his stomach clench. Lena, are you safe? She paused, collecting herself, before answering steadily. Yes, for now. But he knows someone reported it. He suspects it's me. Listen carefully, Nathaniel said firmly. Don't speak to anyone without legal representation. I'll handle Shaw. Meet me in my office. Returning quickly to his office, Nathaniel found Dr. Shaw already waiting outside, his presence imposing. Shaw turned, greeting him coolly. Nathaniel, we need to talk. Nathaniel pushed open his office door, silently motioning Shaw inside. Yes, we do. Inside, Shaw wasted no time, eyes narrowing sharply. You've suspended Dr. Harper without my authorization. Your authorization wasn't required, Nathaniel replied evenly, meeting Shaw's challenging stare. Patient safety overrides protocol always. Shaw sighed theatrically, leaning forward, voice lowered conspiratorially. Nathaniel, you're making a mistake. Harper has connections, powerful ones. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. So do I. Shaw studied him silently, a thin, cold smile appearing. It's about optics, Nathaniel. Think about how this looks: hospital leadership publicly divided. The press would have a field day. Nathaniel leaned forward, voice steely. Optics won't shield us from accountability, Raymond. Someone deliberately endangered a patient, my wife and her unborn child. This hospital failed her. This isn't a PR issue, it's a moral one. Shaw's mask cracked briefly, frustration evident. Nathaniel Harper was following a protocol. Harper breached medical ethics and professional conduct. Nathaniel interrupted sharply. We both know this isn't an isolated incident. Shaw flinched slightly, betraying unease. What are you implying? There's a systemic issue. Nathaniel stated clearly, his voice unwavering. Multiple complaints against Harper and others have mysteriously vanished over the years. This isn't accidental. Shaw straightened, expression cold. Careful, Nathaniel. Accusations like that require proof. I have it, Nathaniel shot back firmly. Footage that was deleted recovered from backup servers. Witnesses willing to testify. Shaw's eyes widened in shock, quickly replaced by anger. You went behind my back. I did what was necessary, Nathaniel replied, calmly unyielding. I suggest you cooperate. A thorough investigation will begin immediately. You can support transparency or face the consequences. Shaw stood abruptly, visibly agitated. "You'll regret this, Nathaniel. You're risking your career." "If my career must end to protect patients," Nathaniel answered resolutely, "so be it." After Shaw stormed out, Lena quietly entered, having overheard everything. Her face was pale, yet determined. "Lena!" Nathaniel began, gently recognizing her fear. "I promise you'll be protected. But I must ask, are you ready to go public with your statement?" Lena nodded decisively, voice clear and unwavering. "Absolutely. This can't continue." Nathaniel smiled warmly, pride evident. "Thank you, Lena. Your courage today is protecting future patients from the same injustice." Lena's eyes shone brightly, a newfound determination evident in her posture. "Let's change this place, Dr. Hayes. For good." Nathaniel nodded solemnly, steeling himself for the storm ahead. "Yes, Lena, for good." As night fell over Crestwood General, a storm gathered outside, mirroring the turmoil within the hospital's walls. Nathaniel sat at Isabella's bedside, her condition stabilized but still closely monitored. His heart clenched at the sight of bruises around her wrists, stark reminders of the morning's trauma. "Nathaniel," Isabella whispered weakly, opening her eyes slowly. "How bad is it?" "You and the baby are safe," Nathaniel reassured her softly, gripping her hand tenderly. "Everything else we'll handle together." She smiled faintly, squeezing his hand. "I trust you." The moment was disrupted by Nathaniel's phone vibrating incessantly. He frowned, checking the screen messages from John Patterson flashed urgently. Dr. Hayes' footage leaked online, viral already, press gathering at entrance. Nathaniel's heart sank. He glanced at Isabella, trying to mask his concern. "Rest, my love. I'll handle this quickly." Outside the hospital, an army of reporters and cameras were already forming, drawn by the leaked footage circulating on social media. The video clearly showed Isabella's treatment, the torn referral, Dr. Harper's dismissive demeanor, Officer Callahan's roughness, and Isabella's visible distress. Public outrage was immediate, with hashtags like "Justice for Isabella" trending rapidly. Nathaniel stepped outside to face the cameras, maintaining composure, despite exhaustion and anger simmering beneath the surface. "Dr. Hayes," shouted a reporter, thrusting a microphone forward, "can you comment on the viral video depicting your wife's mistreatment?" Nathaniel took a deep breath, speaking firmly and clearly. "The actions taken against my wife Isabella Martinez were unacceptable and indicative of deep-seated issues within our institution. A thorough internal and external investigation is already underway. Those responsible will be held accountable." Another reporter quickly interjected, "Dr. Hayes, is systemic racism a pervasive issue at Crestwood General?" Nathaniel paused, the question heavy and critical. "Unfortunately, incidents like this highlight biases ingrained in our healthcare systems, even here at Crestwood. It is my personal commitment and responsibility to address and rectify these injustices." As Nathaniel navigated the barrage of questions, Lena watched from the hospital lobby, resolve hardening within her. She had promised Nathaniel her voice, and she was ready to fulfill that pledge. The next morning, Lena stood alongside Nathaniel at a scheduled press conference, her nerves evident, yet courage palpable. Cameras flashed relentlessly as Nathaniel introduced her. Lena Morales, nurse intern, witnessed yesterday's incident firsthand. She has bravely decided to share her account publicly. Lena stepped forward, voice steady and clear, despite the intensity of the moment. "What I witnessed yesterday wasn't an isolated event. I've seen other patients treated unfairly due to racial biases, their concerns dismissed simply because of who they are. I became a nurse to help and protect people, and silence would betray that mission." The room erupted with questions, but Nathaniel raised a calming hand. We promise transparency and swift action. The safety and dignity of every patient will always be our highest priority. Meanwhile, upstairs, Isabella was resting when a sharp pain suddenly gripped her alarms from monitors sounding urgently. Nurses rushed into the room, quickly assessing her vitals. "Doctor," one nurse shouted down the hallway, "the patient's blood pressure is spiking dangerously." Nathaniel was summoned, immediately racing through the corridors to reach Isabella. As he entered the room, his breath caught in his throat. "What happened?" "Stress-induced preeclampsia," Dr. Patel informed him gravely. "We need to perform an emergency C-section immediately." Isabella's eyes filled with fear as Nathaniel quickly approached, grasping her trembling hand. "Nathaniel," Isabella whispered urgently, gripping his hand with surprising strength, "please protect our baby." He pressed his forehead gently against hers, speaking with calm conviction. "You and our daughter will be fine. I promise." The medical team rapidly prepared Isabella for surgery. Nathaniel accompanied her into the operating room, never leaving her side. As the procedure began, a tense silence filled the room, punctuated only by the soft hum of medical equipment. Within minutes, a tiny, fierce cry pierced the quiet. Nathaniel's heart soared with relief as he glimpsed his daughter for the first time, small but resilient. "She's strong," Dr. Patel announced reassuringly. "A fighter, just like her mother." Tears welled in Nathaniel's eyes as the newborn was swiftly examined and cared for. Isabella, exhausted but relieved, met Nathaniel's gaze, whispering softly, "We made it." "Yes," Nathaniel breathed emotionally, pressing a tender kiss to her forehead. "We did." Outside the operating room, news of Isabella and the baby's safe delivery spread quickly through the hospital. Lena, waiting anxiously nearby, sighed deeply, in relief, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Yet amid relief lingered determination. Nathaniel knew the fight was far from over. As he cradled his newborn daughter for the first time, he resolved, silently promising her and all future patients a hospital worthy of their trust. "This changes now," he vowed softly, gazing at his daughter. "For you and for everyone who comes after." In the weeks following Isabella's emergency delivery, Crestwood General Hospital became the epicenter of a profound reckoning. Public scrutiny intensified, driven by widespread outrage and relentless media coverage. Federal investigators arrived, sifting meticulously through records, evidence, and testimonies. Nathaniel, balancing hospital leadership and caring for Isabella and their newborn daughter, whom they'd named Sophia. Justice Hayes found strength in the overwhelming public support and internal solidarity from the hospital staff. One rainy afternoon, the hospital board convened an emergency session, all eyes fixed on Nathaniel as he stood confidently at the head of the conference table. The room was charged with anticipation as board members awaited his address. "We have faced an uncomfortable truth about ourselves." Nathaniel began firmly, his voice resonating clearly throughout the hushed room. "The events involving Isabella Martinez highlighted institutional failures deeply rooted within our culture. We must transform, not simply apologize." Dr. Shaw, visibly uneasy, shifted nervously in his seat. Nathaniel continued unwaveringly. "Effective immediately, we will overhaul our protocols, mandating comprehensive anti-bias training for all staff. We will establish an independent oversight committee to handle patient grievances transparently and decisively." Heads nodded in agreement around the table, but Dr. Shaw interjected sharply. "Nathaniel, this is excessive. It implies accountability." "Raymond?" Nathaniel interrupted firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Ignoring these realities risks more lives and further erodes public trust. Change isn't optional. It is essential. The board voted decisively in Nathaniel's favor, approving all his proposals unanimously. Dr. Shaw, recognizing defeat, resigned soon after the meeting concluded. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Harper and Officer Callahan were formally terminated their professional licenses and employment records reflecting the gravity of their actions. Lena Morales received formal commendation and promotion, stepping into a newly created role as Director of Patient Advocacy. Months passed, and under Nathaniel's leadership, Crestwood General underwent a remarkable transformation. Isabella, now fully recovered, embraced motherhood with warmth and resilience, channeling her traumatic experience into advocacy and empowerment for underserved communities. She spoke passionately at events nationwide, raising awareness about healthcare disparities and systemic racism. On the first anniversary of that harrowing day, the hospital hosted a public dedication ceremony. Crowds gathered beneath clear blue skies, eyes glistening with hope and determination. Nathaniel stood proudly beside Isabella, cradling Sophia in his arms. Today, Nathaniel proclaimed, his voice echoing resolutely, marks a new chapter not just for Crestwood General, but for healthcare institutions everywhere. We proudly rename our facility the Isabella Martinez Center for Health Equity, ensuring no one else experiences what Isabella endured. Applause erupted, powerful and heartfelt, a collective acknowledgement of lessons learned and progress made. Later, as twilight painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Nathaniel and Isabella lingered by the newly unveiled sign bearing her name. Sophia, wide-eyed and curious, reached out towards the shining letters. Isabella smiled softly, her voice gentle yet full of conviction. One day, Sophia will know this place represents not just her story, but a commitment to justice for everyone. Nathaniel squeezed Isabella's hand lovingly, emotions filling his voice. And she will grow up in a world better than the one we faced, a world we've helped change. They stood quietly wrapped in the gentle peace of the evening, knowing their trials had sparked a movement far greater than themselves. In that moment, beneath a sky awash in radiant colors, they found solace in knowing their suffering had ignited a lasting legacy, one of justice, healing, and hope.